OST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, and more. This is The Hodder Show.
What is up, everybody? We are rolling out of you here today in episode 296 of The Hodder Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I got a really, really fun episode for you today as I am sitting down with my buddy Ethan Flynn to do a little bit of a album showcase of his brand new album that just came out last week on June 11th, The Pumpkin Club. Now, what we're going to do here is we do a little kind of talk about kind of like the recording process and that real quick. And then we play the full album front to back. You're going to hear all the tracks on it. And then afterwards, we're going to do a track by track dissection of each song and kind of hear about how the song was written, any kind of fun stories about it. We also hear why the Pumpkin Club album was titled The Pumpkin Club. And it's a great, great story. So stay tuned for that. And the awesome track by track commentary by Ethan. It was a lot of fun to do this with him. I've known Ethan for a long time, been following his career pretty much since day one of the Hodder Show, like 2017-ish, I think. So about 4 years now. So I'm super excited for this album. I cannot wait for you guys to hear it. Before we jump into that, I want to thank everybody for the support on last week's episode of the show, in which I had my buddy Alexander Cable, badass pro wrestler, on the show for a chat, an out of character chat. You know, we talked about a lot of really heavy stuff in the beginning and some really important stuff. So that was great. I had a couple people hit me up and say it was really, cool to hear someone like Cable talk about that, the breaking down the barriers and the, like we were saying, people who are viewed as like, macho, tough guys, pro wrestlers, talking about mental health and stuff. It was really cool. So Cable, thank you very much, my man, for coming on, for everybody who supported that episode. Without further ado, we're going to jump into today's episode, my music showcase, featuring Ethan Flynn doing a track by track commentary of The Pumpkin Club by Ethan Flynn. Let's get into it. June 11th, The Pumpkin Club came out from my man, Mr. Ethan Flynn, and we are here to do an album showcase with him. Ethan, how are you, man? It's really good to see you.
I am doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, buddy. It is it's funny because the last time we did this, we were just talking about this before we started. It was, way pre-pandemic, so Zoom and Skype and stuff wasn't quite as fine as they are now, and it's really cool that we would actually do this with a video, man. It's good to actually be able to see you and speak with you.
So many podcasts in the past, I've heard your voice, wondering, I wonder what this guy looks like. No, I've seen you on Instagram, but
Like, whoa, he does not look how I thought he would, or it's the opposite, Some people
you look
are like,
10 times better.
Oh, well, thank you. Coming from a handsome man like yourself, that's quite the compliment. So I appreciate that. Oh, geez. Okay. All right. But so this is really cool, man. Obviously, again, The Pumpkin Club, you've been working on this album for a while. So I was super hyped to see that it finally had a release date and that you had things all ready to go. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a delay with some distribution issues. What happened there?
Apple Music, if you want to come get me, I'll be at my home every day. I'll prepare some of my best boxing moves for you. It'll be like that Mike Tyson guy or something.
Around the fisticuffs with Apple Music.
Other than that, album is good to go. Album was finished in May, so completely 100% done. So awesome. In June now, everyone gets to hear it.
June 11th, yay! Now, we are recording this a little before, just as a little spoiler there, folks, but June 11th, the album is out now as you guys are hearing this podcast. So what we're going to do here with this album showcase, we're going to talk a little bit about the writing and recording process. Then we're going to hear the album in full, and then we're going to come back and do a track-by-track breakdown of the songs. Well, Ethan is. I'm going to sit here and listen and learn about these fantastic songs. But Ethan, walk me through kind of the early stages of the writing for The Pumpkin Club.
The you could say some of the earliest songs on this album were started in 2017. So Yes Pumpkin, I have a recording of a demo that dates back to 2017.
Wow.
Another track called Another Day with You, also 2017. No, my bad. That one's 2018. So I think Yes Pumpkin is the earliest track on this album.
Because there are some tracks that I did recognize. I'd heard these before, just on earlier recordings and stuff like that.
Yeah, so some of the tracks have been released as singles up until now. But I will say this, every track on the album is different than to how it has been previously released. Even though they may be similar, every track is different in some way, whether it be a remix or an additional vocal or an additional verse, an intro or something like that. All the single versions will be different. So nothing you've heard on this album has come out officially yet.
Awesome. Because even like a song like Keep From the Memory, which obviously the last time I had you on, we were hyping up that single and that. It's cool because I did notice, I'm like, there's a little, it's little things, but I'm like, that's cool. I dig that it's like, you're not just going, hey, here's a bunch of songs I've recorded over the last few years. It's like, hey, I've written these songs over the last few years and maybe some of them have been released, but it's a whole, almost like a completely different animal now.
Yeah. These are like the final versions of the songs. Like, usually sometimes you put out songs and you have retrospect. Oh, I would do this differently. I would do this differently. This is what this is,
Yeah.
So, and also if I kept all those songs to myself, I wouldn't have a lot of material released in the last 1 or 2 years. So yeah, my last thing would be 2 years ago. So now all these singles, some of the singles come together with a bunch of new songs that haven't been released in any form whatsoever. And this makes up the new album.
Which is cool because for me, again, being a fan of your work for the last few years, it's cool to hear songs that are, number one, for me, one in particular that I want to make sure that I do talk about, obviously a little later on, because it was one of my favorites on the album. But there's a few songs that I'm like, they're very different from what I've heard you do before, but they're also like, oh yeah, this is totally up his alley. Very kind of, I guess it would be like indie rock, but it's like, I think I said this before with, when I was speaking with you, but the whole album as a whole and a lot of your music, it is very reminiscent of like old school pop, meaning like pop from like the 60s and 70s. It kind of has that old school soul to it. I really enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm going for any specific genre. I just write what I like to write, and then people say it's this, people say it's that, but no, whatever you think, it's good, all good with me.
Because I remember when I showed, it was your song Hope. I remember when I showed that song to my fiance, she was like, this sounds like it could like be in Greece or something. And I'm like, that's a pretty big compliment. Like, I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like, I dig that, and again, there's moments on the album that are very reminiscent of kind of that, it's, you're not, like I said, you're not necessarily going for it, but it's like, hey, this is you in all its raw and, very well produced, but like raw as in the songwriting, right?
Yeah. A lot of it is inspired by the things I love. So I do love that kind of not old music, but old songwriting arrangements and that kind of stuff. Even the album cover is like retro themed in the form of the text on the picture and that kind of stuff. So I take what I love and it comes into the brain and I bring it back out.
And also, a lot of it meshes together and it just,
Exactly. Meshes together.
That's awesome, man. So as far as with the actual recording process of all 12 of these tracks, obviously this happened, throughout a period of time, but were the majority of these tracks, were they all kind of like recorded at the same time? And who did you work with?
Well, the earliest track was recorded in May 2019, which is Overdue. And the latest two tracks were finished around the same time, which was Reflection and I Can't Imagine, around May, April 2021. So there has been a 2-year period of recording for this album, but that doesn't include mixing and re-updating sounds and finding masters and all that kind of stuff. What was the question again?
Sorry, I was just asking, like, you know, kind of you'd answered the gist of it with as far as like the recording of it and everything, but who did you work with on the record? And I know obviously a lot of it was obviously you, but
yeah. Overdue was the track with the most collaborators. We had my friend Ryan on the bass, Ryan Ulk, Julia Maja on lead guitar, playing that wonderful solo in there, and Alex, who did the drum programming, some of it. And then there was the track Close to You, which was the instrumental bit of the song was composed and arranged by Ryan McNeil, who used to drum for King Catalyst.
Shouts to Ryan.
And he made this wonderful, wonderful instrumental, and I created the vocals and sang over it. And I think those are the only 2 songs with collaborators on them.
And as far as the production side of things, was that some, because I know you've always been very DIY, did you handle all that yourself?
Everything, top to bottom, except for the instrumentation on the track Close to You, because that was Mr. McNeil. But even then, I handled the mastering on that track, so 99% of it.
It's all very DIY, and it sounds like absolutely fantastic, man. Like, I mean, it's up there with, you know, anything that I would hear be produced by a super high paid, you know, producer, and you know, so you can definitely tell you know, like I said earlier, kind of your progression over the last few years has been really fun to watch, because especially being so DIY, like you hear little things like that. Someone who doesn't listen to a lot of music might not pick out little things as far as with production, but I noticed them, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. It means a lot coming from my bedroom.
Well, that's what's the most amazing part. Like, this whole album, you know, for the most part really is recorded in your bedroom, and it just sounds so great. And there's so much fantastic content and songs to talk about. But what I think we should do now, folks, is we're just going to actually jump into the album itself. I'm going to give you guys the track listing, and then we're going to listen to this whole fantastic album. And then we're going to come back with Ethan, and he's going to give us a little breakdown of each track. So first off, on the 12-track album, The Pumpkin Club, we have the track Now. The second track, we have Somebody to Love. Third track, we have Far Away From Here. The fourth track, we have Bitch. The fifth track, we have Close to You. Sixth track, we have Keep from the Memory. Seventh track, we have Overdue. The eighth track, we have Reflection. The ninth track, we have Yes Pumpkin. The 10th track, we have Another Day with You. The 11th track, we have I Can't Imagine. And last but absolutely not least, track 12, we have On My Show. So crank it up, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Pumpkin Club by Ethan Flynn. We'll see you guys in a bit. Enjoy.
isn't over yet. My mind won't let me forget the little things about you. This isn't over yet. I sit in my cold sweat, trying so hard to forget. Sick in my own things you do. And by good luck we try our hearts together, just to get close to you. They like the smell of your touch. Your life is living, but always living in the heart. We all that you feel, messing around with your voice. Come back again, and you won't see me for no one else? Why did you come for me tonight? What did you think you'd see tonight? Children leave now all the time. You've always left a step behind. I can't see what I can't find. It's a heavy weight for peace of mind. Never we fear the monster here. Make it straight through, the coast is clear. Can you hear me listening? Can you hear me listening? I never saw it come. I never saw it come.
you. Yeah, you. Listen to The Harder Show right now. Are you in a band? Maybe you're a business owner of some kind, a performer, maybe a pro wrestler, an event promoter, an athlete, or maybe you're just an everyday person who needs some photo editing done. You need a great graphic design guy, and have I ever got the hookup for you? My man and close personal friend, Mr. Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. Whether you need logos, t-shirts, stickers, tickets, business cards, banners, menu, brochures, flyers, posters, Facebook banner videos, door hangers, photo editing and restoration, print ads, lyric video editing, signs, notepads, window clings, letterhead, bookmarks, programs, magnets, greeting cards, calendars, rack cards, invitations, envelopes, pens. Jason will work with you to develop a style that is unique to you and that tells everybody just how special your business, event, or you personally are, and you will stand out from the crowd. On top of the fact that he does offer free delivery between Cobourg, Ontario and Kingston, Ontario, message him today right now for a free quote. That's right, a free quote. Tell him about your idea. You got something outside the box, he will make it happen. With great rates and service, you cannot go wrong. I've used Jason literally for everything over the past 3.5 years, and I cannot say enough good things about the man himself and his work. So contact him today on the web at jaybirddigitalarts.com or on social media under Jaybird Digital Arts. That's Jaybird digitalarts.com. You can also email him at jaybird.digital.arts@gmail.com. And always keep in mind that his business is successful when your business looks good. All right, guys, that was The Pumpkin Club by Ethan Flynn. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. We're going to continue on with our breakdown of the album here with Ethan Flynn, because we're actually joined by the artist behind the album here on the Harder Show Music Showcase. So I'm very, very excited about that. So before we jump into the actual track-by-track breakdown, just to give you guys the track listing one more time, the first song you heard was Now, then it was Somebody to Love, Far Away From Here, Bitch, Close to You, Keep from the Memory, Overdue, Reflection, Yes Pumpkin, Another Day with You, I Can't Imagine, and then last but not least was On My Show. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to give the floor to Ethan. I'm going to say the name of the track, and then he's going to give me a little breakdown, whether it's behind the actual writing of the track, the instrumentation behind it, little things that he enjoyed about writing the instrumentation, the lyrics, whatever Ethan wants to talk about, we're going to break down on each track. So Ethan, of course, the first track, Now. Walk me through Now.
Now. Well, I can say this. Now was not always supposed to be the first track of the album. And even up until a couple months ago, I was still debating, should it be the first track of the album? But everyone I showed it to, they were like, oh my God, the bongo intro, that's got to be the first song. So that's how it made number one. I wrote the song in 2017. So it's another one of those 4 years ago compositions, but I never recorded it until late 2020. And it was written around the same time as Fly Away, if you remember my other song. Mm-hmm. But I recorded that one earlier. So Now finally has its recording, and maybe someday a few other 2017 songs around the same time will resurface as well. I have that's my problem. I have a huge catalog of songs that I've written but haven't recorded. So they're just gonna find their way sometime. This song introduces the bongos, which is not what I play or not what I've used in any other song previously, which is kind of cool. And let's see, what else about this song? I think the lyrical bits of this song, you can decide for yourself.
Very vague. I like it. Well, and what really took me about this track specifically was, like you said, with those bongos, because I hadn't heard the album before, so when I sit down and I click it on, I met with bongos. I'm like, yo, like what? This is awesome. And it's a super funky track. So I really enjoyed Now for sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Very good. So, and of course, the next track was Somebody to Love. Walk me through Somebody to Love.
Somebody to Love was written and recorded in a month. So the opposite of now, which has had a four-year waiting period. Somebody to Love was super fast. And it happened right when the pandemic started. So I was stuck in my house all alone, and I sang about everything that I was feeling. And if you couldn't guess, I was lonely. But it was very inspired by the Beatles, this song, I'll say. Like a lot of Hard Day's Night vibes. And I was stuck in my house. So I was like, how productive can I be? So I made a music video for it. I completed the entire song. I wrote everything. And up until that moment, it's probably the most proud I've been of a single that I've released. And on the cover, I used my parents as well when they were younger, because Somebody to Love. It's their favorite song of mine.
That's awesome. Well, it's definitely a song that everyone can relate to as well, right? Especially those who have been stuck in their house during the whole pandemic, right? It's very, very relatable, and that's awesome. That's their favorite song.
Yeah. The album version is a little bit longer. But other than that, it's pretty much the same as the single.
Awesome. So would you say out of all the tracks on the album, obviously it's not like you set out to write, I'm going to record this album during the pandemic and it's going to be like about the pandemic or whatever. But would you say that's definitely a track that kind of encapsulates this time period for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's about longing, It's about longing for something better. Whereas I think a song, about the pandemic would be kind of sad and depressing. It's kind of like the opposite, It's what I aspire for.
That's good. I like that. That's very good, man. Awesome. Well, it's a wonderful track. So that's really cool too, about using your parents on the cover of it. That's really cool. I like that. That's awesome. So the third track we had here was Far Away From Here. So walk me through Far Away From Here.
Far Away From Here is the second hardest track I've ever had to make in my life. This song took millions of years to finish. And you think I might be exaggerating, but it feels like millions of years to finish. Oh my gosh. When did I start this song? I started the recording of it in 2019, not just the composition, the recording, and I finished the recording in 2021. So wow. Just to record those 5 or 6 minutes, whatever, took 2 years. And the vocals are incredibly challenging, but at the end of the day, we completed it. The song kind of explains itself in the lyrics as well. It's not fictional, whereas like Now is kind of a little bit of a fantasy, and so is Keep From the Memory, but we'll get to that later. But Far Away From Here is pretty much self-explanatory. It's one of my diary songs.
Like that. Is that something you'll do a lot of? Like when you, like obviously I know a lot of your lyrical content, obviously it's very, personal, it's very raw, but with, like you just said, it's like a diary song. Is that something you do a lot where you'll kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of document a feeling down in with your lyrical content?
I try to. I pay more attention to melody, if I'm being honest. That's why some songs aren't as personal, and some songs can be fabricated stories, whatever you're feeling. But I try to, because people seem to care about that kind of stuff. So I want to write them good stuff.
For sure. Well, it's, as fun as it is to have a fictional story that's like super well written and everything, like you said, Keep From the Memory, which is, one of my favorite songs of yours, as awesome as that is, because it's still a very relatable song. It's like having something that when you're singing it, this is really real. You can really feel that as a listener, I think. So I definitely agree with your thought process.
Right. And one more thing about this song is that I recorded it another time, and the first time I recorded it was super slow, which is odd because it's a fast song. But the first recording of it was super slow. Anyways, that's it. That's all I'm good.
I just had to speed it up. Wanted to speed it up.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Let's make it fast. It'll be fun.
That's fun. Definitely a very fun tune. So the next song that we have here is, I'm going to be honest with you, probably not a huge surprise to you or anyone else listening, but the fourth track, Bitch, which is one of my favorite tracks. Usually on these showcases, I pick, right? Isn't that super surprising? I'll pick 3 songs and I'll talk about them as kind of my favorite, but walk me through Bitch, because it's I would say it's a very self-explanatory song, but I want to hear about it because it's such I would say out of the whole album, it's kind of like there's a few tracks that stand out to me, but Bitch is definitely one that's like, whoa. Okay, because it's heavy, right?
It is the heaviest thing I have done, even heavier than some King Catalyst songs.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and there's some heavy King Catalyst songs.
It's pretty strange for me, but I was debating so long if I should call it Bitch or not, because when you write songs and you do that kind of thing, you want it to be presentable to everyone at every time. You know, like when you have a family and go, oh, here are the songs I wrote when I was a kid, you know? And I don't want my 2-year-old daughter to say, hey, what's that? You know, but
that's my song, Bitch. Like, I get it.
I feel like at the end of the day, Bitch just won me over. Like, it was necessary. Sometimes you have to take those risks in life. It's angry, in your face. It is about a bitch.
Brutally honest. That's what I love about it so much, right? You know, talking about
it.
Well, it's like you mentioned, you know, earlier about like kind of like almost like songs being a diary for you sometimes lyrically. I mean, that works with all ways, right? If you're angry at someone, you know, sometimes the best thing to do is just let it out on top of a heavy instrumental with, you know, awesome heavy guitar work. That's still what I think I really dug about it was it's still very clean, because that's one thing I really love about your playing. Like, you incorporate a lot of clean guitar sound into your music, whereas a lot of people might throw just a ton of distortion in and call it a day. It's almost like you're not using that as a crutch, but then with this song, you do add in obviously a little bit of distortion, a little bit of distorted bass. It's like, it's cool that the way you mix it in.
Yeah. A lot of fun stuff is when you put distortion on things that aren't guitars. Put distortion on bass, put distortion on your vocals. It creates a new atmosphere. It's pretty cool. But there's something about Bitch that is what's been appealing to me about heavy music and about heavy genres. And I don't think that people orchestrate or arrange it very well. So that's why I'm proud of Bitch, because it's the first time I think that I've been able to do that within that genre or within that style. Orchestrate
it in a different way, so it's not just like, here's this wall of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It's the way that I've like heard it in my head, but then I go to play the song and I'm often disappointed. You know, it doesn't sound like that.
So it's awesome that you were able to kind of, and sometimes being a solo artist, I'm sure sometimes that can be frustrating too, when it's like, hey, I hear it this way, but you're only one person. So you can do it on a recording, obviously, but can't do it live, right? Yeah. You can't sit in your bedroom and play all these parts, all at once.
Oh my gosh. Bitch would be incredibly hard to play live. I don't think we could ever do it. There's this one part where it goes like bump, 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 bump. And to do that, you'd have to move your hand like this and hit all the right frets to get the chord. And oh my gosh, that would take so much practice.
You would have to really put some time in it for sure.
For all the guitar players and the bassists to get that right on point, I think it's going to be tricky.
And all in time too. Like that's, like, oh yeah, we can play it separate, but it's like, no, we got to get it in time perfectly. Because it's very precise.
Yeah. It'll be tricky. We'll see. Maybe when shows come back,
Yes.
what works and what doesn't work.
Oh yeah. Got to make sure that happens for sure. Awesome. So the next track that we have here is Close to You. Walk me through Close to You.
So after I finished Somebody to Love in 2020, my friend Ryan McNeil sent me a song. He was like, can you add vocals to this? I want to see what it would sound like, because I can't think of any vocals. So I put distortion vocals, made like a funky like Prince falsetto melody to it, and just had fun. And I sent it back to him, and he's like, wow, I didn't think you were gonna go this route at all, but it's kind of cool. And I was like, I really like it. And so I kept tweaking at it, and I said, okay, well, what do you want to do with this song? And he's like, oh, I'll wait a little bit. I'll see what I can do. You know, maybe we'll see if I want to put it out or not. So I waited a couple months, and then I got back to him, and I was like, okay, listen, here's my album, okay? I sent him a link of all the songs. I never sent it to anyone else. And I said, look how good your song fits in with these, okay? Can I please use it? Pretty please? And I showed it to my family as well, and they were like, Ethan, this is the best song that you've ever made besides Somebody to Love, because they love Somebody to Love for some reason. And I was like, I can't use it. It's his song, you know. I just added vocals over it. But I showed him the album with the song in it, and he was like, sure, go ahead, use it. You have my blessing. And I was like, thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much. So
That's awesome. Big shout out to Ryan for, allowing that to happen for sure.
Ryan.
It's such a fun song.
It is like dancey, it's like the most poppy dance song on the album, but with a dark undertone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting, kind of new.
For sure. And very much in that, like when I heard it, first off, what really struck me is like, I mean, I know you have your range is amazing, but to do the majority of the song in that kind of falsetto, I was like, whoa, like I did not see that coming, because your normal, like your regular singing voice, it sits definitely a little below that. But I'm like, I know you can get up there, but it's like, it kind of takes, for lack of a better term, some balls to be like, because it's very, like you said, very Prince-esque, falsetto. It kind of takes some balls to do that and be like, I'm going to do the whole song like that.
Yeah, that's another one of those things, like putting distortion on bass or putting distortion on your vocals. Once I learned that you can literally do anything you want. You could do falsetto, it doesn't matter. You're not limited to whatever you normally do. I was like, a whole new world opens up.
That's what's so wonderful about music, right? You can do whatever you want and it doesn't matter. For sure. Very good. So the next track that we have here is, I'm just going to come out and say it's overall one of my favorite tracks that you've ever done, and definitely one of my favorites on the album, which is Keep From the Memory. Now, again, we talked a little before about how some songs were older songs that you may have released before, but there's been things added to them or rewritten or a little bit or whatever. So walk me through Keep From the Memory.
Keep From the Memory is kind of odd for me. I don't know if I should plead the fifth or not, but it's like it's not one of my favorites, but everyone I show to, they love it. So
Including me.
So I'm not gonna like hide it from them. If they love it so much, it must mean it's good. But it's not one of my favorites, but I'm still proud of it. The new recording of it, what did I change? I changed a couple things, some lyrics, some of the vocal effects. It's a little bit shorter. It's just better. It's better mixed. It's better produced. It includes lyrics that are mostly fake, so mostly made up, mostly a story.
The fictional story you're writing, right? Yeah.
That might be what throws me off about it, but people like it, and I don't hate it. I think it's
For sure. I was about to say that too. Like, I think for you as an artist, the songs that mean something to you a little more, right, are the ones that you're going to kind of gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, keeping the memory, it's generally speaking, overall, it's a fictional story. So, you know, you're not going to be quite as into it, but doesn't mean you hate it or anything, right?
I will say Keep from the Memory was going to be the first track initially, but
Bongos. Can't beat the bongos, man. Awesome. Very good. Well, again, guys, Keep from the Memory, you know, for me, I mean, I think it's going to go out as one of your, you know, your most classic songs. And one thing I wanted to, because we had just talked about you with doing the voice falsetto. One thing I really, really love about this track, I think it's why it's one of my favorites of yours, is because I was such a fan of King Catalyst and your work with King Catalyst, and still am, obviously. With the bridge from Keep from the Memory, you let the grit out a little bit more, right? And I think that's something that I really love about that.
Yeah, the falsetto makes a return there. The first time, though, I think, because all of my music was zero falsetto up to a point. The first point was the song Dry Up, if you remember from Broadway. Once I realized I could use falsetto in the chorus of that, it was like the Bee Gees with Nights on Broadway. They were like, oh my God, we can do it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Very good. Definitely a killer track. So now the next track that we have is Overdue. So walk me through Overdue.
Overdue was released in 2019, was recorded and released in 2019. It is on this album because it fits so well with the other tracks, melodically, lyrically, and everything. It just fits the right vibe. And when I had a test playing of the album without it, something was wrong. Something was off. There was something missing. And it's not by any means my favorite song I've ever made. For example, Weekend in Paradise on the Flyaway EP is fantastic and probably one of my favorites. And Overdue was also on that same EP. But Overdue has something that just adds to this album. So I needed to have it, needed to bring it to the album. The differences between this version and the previously released version are so minimal, I don't think you'd be able to notice it, even if I told you what it was.
Because I didn't really notice any huge differences, because that was one track on Fly Away that I really enjoyed, right? So I was like, I'm listening and I'm like, oh, like, yeah, this is on. Because I went back and I'm like, oh, yeah, wasn't this song on the EP? And I went back, I'm like, oh, yeah, it is. But again, it fits, like you said, it does fit so well, you know, especially being a kind of a transition from Keep from the Memory to the next track. It's just like, it just slides in there so perfectly. It really does.
And I have such a problem with EPs because when someone looks back on your work, you know, take the albums and stuff, and usually EPs will get thrown to the sideline.
Yeah.
And if you invest a lot of really good songs in EPs, those songs get wasted. So that's why I was okay with bringing one of them back for the album. You know, if I can bring a single that I've released back for the album, I can bring that song.
For sure. And I mean, again, and it works. It'll go down in, you know, in the history of Ethan Flynn as, you know, this song was on the Pumpkin Club. You know, it's not like you said, with EPs, I agree with you. Like sometimes they'll get forgotten about, even if there's some killer songs on there. So it's great that you were able to bring that song in for sure.
Yeah, albums always stay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, they do for sure. So now the next track that we have, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm just going to come right out and say it. It's definitely my favorite track on the whole album. And that is Reflection. Really? Walk me through Reflection. Yes, which might surprise you, but It is my favorite track on the album. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really enjoy it.
Okay, that does surprise me. This version is the most different to the version I released as a single in every way sonically. The version I released just this March is very it uses a lot of filters. It's very mechanic sounding because the drums are very roboticized.
Roboticized, yeah. It is now, buddy. Absolutely.
And I released it as a single in March because I didn't think it was going to make the album. I didn't think I was going to put it on the album. And a lot of people agreed with me. They were like, yeah, I don't know, something sounds off about it. Something sounds kind of weird. And I thought, well, if this single sounds kind of weird, why don't I just go into it and remix it and have some fun? And I did it. And I came up with a completely different sounding song, to me at least. And then that version was good enough for the album, whereas the single version I'm not too fond of. But I remixed it and suddenly everything clicked and I was like, this got to be on the album because this is good now. So it's the most different, but at the end of the day, it's there. It made it.
Definitely so. And I mean, it's a very, I think why I enjoy it so much, like you already kind of said it, but like, because it is so different, but it still fits in with everything else. Like, it's not like it's a total 180. It's like, oh, okay. Like this is pretty different. It's a very vibey song. It's a very beautiful song. All the keys and synths and everything in the background, the epic lead parts, the killer guitar solo. To me, it's very, I'm listening. And that's actually funny. I was listening to it at work and one of my coworkers came in and they're listening and they're like, just kind of chilling for a minute and listening. And it was during just like the instrumental part for the solo and that. And he's like, man, he's not super experienced with music, but he was like, man, this is this like a new Pink Floyd song or something? This sounds awesome. Like, I love this. And I'm like, it's funny you mentioned that because there are some moments where I'm like, yo, it sounds like this could have been like written by Pink Floyd, man. Like, seriously. Like, and I mean, that is a huge compliment because I am a big Pink Floyd fan. But like, I'm not saying it sounds like it, but it's just like, there are moments where it's very, I guess, proggy, I guess, almost like that kind of 60s, 70s prog, you know, not that it's a 20-minute long song or anything, but just, it's so cool. I think that's why I do enjoy it so much, you know. And lyrically, it's such a, again, very heartfelt and beautiful song for sure.
I'm really glad that you say so because this song almost made the cutting room floor. You know, some songs you know are gonna make the album. Some songs you're kind of iffy. You're like, I don't know. But I'm glad you like it.
Sure, yeah, I love it. Like I said, I mean, it's my favorite on the album, which surprised even me. I was like, because I thought Bitch was going to take it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I sat for a long time pondering. I'm like, okay, I got to say what one's my favorite. I always like to do that, right? And I'm like, it's got to be Smile. And then Now was in the mix too. I'm like, oh, like, but yeah, for sure, it's got to be Reflection. Absolutely love Reflection. Now, the next track that we have here is Yes, Pumpkin. Walk me through Yes, Pumpkin.
Yes, Pumpkin. Yes, Pumpkin is the oldest song on the record, was compositionally written in 2017, exactly at the same time I wrote the first song I put out called Pink Rose, if you remember that. Mm-hmm. And in my hard drive somewhere exists a really mechanical 2017 version of Yes, Pumpkin, which sounds completely different to the one that made the album. But actually, you know what's funny? I showed the 2017 version to the girl I was dating at the time, and she was like, I hate this. This sounds so bad. And I was like, no, it's good. And I showed it to everyone else, and they were like, this sounds horrible. What were you thinking? And I was like, okay, you know what? I know this is a good song on the inside, so I'm gonna when I learn how to produce better, I'm gonna make a new version, and I'm gonna make it the best I possibly can, and you're gonna see, and you're gonna know you were wrong. And that's what I did with this new version, the version that made the album.
That's awesome. It's funny that people can be like, it's good to have friends and people like that in your life, right? Where they're just like brutally honest when you ask them their opinion on something, right? Because it's better than like, oh, it's good. Yeah, I like it. Yay, do. Like, you don't want people like that around, right? 'Cause it's just,
Yeah.
But it's funny that how you just knew, right? You know, okay, there's a great song in here. We just got to find it.
Yeah, they were brutally honest. Some people still to this day, they either love it or they hate it. I don't know what it is about that song, but I really like it. And it's not about Halloween at all. Neither is this album, by the way. Just to put that out there for everyone.
So where does like the whole pumpkin thing come from then? I'm curious. Just ask about that.
So the reason the album is called the Pumpkin Club is the same reason that the album cover is me sitting in the middle of the forest on a log or something like that. And that reason is it's because can I swear?
Absolutely.
Because I fucking wanted it to be.
That's the best. Why is it called that? Because I fucking wanted it to be. Oh man, that's awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I thought there was gonna be like some like significance behind it. I was like, there's got to be something. No, I just fucking wanted it to be.
And
Quote of the episode.
Isn't that what music is about?
Yes.
That's why it's the perfect name.
That's awesome. That's great. Because I fucking wanted it to be. That's the quote of the episode, folks. That's fantastic, man. Well, I'm glad you did what you wanted to do, because at the end of the day, a lot of people can get really caught up in, should I make a name that's really like, oh, this will catch people's attention more, like, which I mean, I think the Pumpkin Club does, because like, well, what's the Pumpkin Club? But some people get really hung up on that. So I'm glad that you just shows the kind of artist you are, right? You just go with your gut, write music that you want to play and listen to, and because you wanted it to be a certain way, you did it that way, right? I think that's, as an artist, that's what you should strive for.
Absolutely. So do I. One more thing about it is that the new version on the album has additional guitar solos that were not on the single version. So that's pretty much the biggest difference.
I think that they did make a big difference in adding them. It definitely adds a little more oomph to the song.
Yeah.
So I love me some guitar solos anytime. So very good. Now the next track that we have was Another Day with You. Walk me through Another Day with You.
Another Day with You was written in 2018 when I broke up with the girl who told me that Yes Pumpkin was shit.
I would have too, but like, this is a great song.
It was a little bit inspired by Strange Things by Randy Newman from the first Toy Story movie. The kind of way that he goes down a note. Mm-hmm. And so I took that in the D chord, and I just went down from major to major 7. Sometimes I go down to minor 7. By Randy Newman just inspired me to like have that hook, and that's where that hook for that song came from. I recorded a version in 2018 which is really raw and really heavily distorted. It sounds like that one track on the first Foo Fighters record. I think it's called Exhausted.
Oh yeah. Where it's super
like
over the top distorted. Yeah.
And again, everyone I showed it to said, this sounds horrible. You can't release this. So I said, okay, I understand this time. I'm going to make you a good version. And that's what this version is.
Definitely, I think was the right move. As cool as it would be to have a song like that, because it's very, I guess, for lack of a better term, like very aggressive, like very, you're letting out that, that feeling, but it's like, I think this version's definitely works a lot better for you.
Yeah. So let's, so I could have done something that I didn't choose to do.
Okay.
I could have attached the last 3 songs and made a 20-minute track, like Prague, Supper's Ready type, 20-minute,
Wow.
But
okay.
at the end of the day, I broke them up. However, Another Day with You still goes into the next track. Which I Can't Imagine on the record. There is no space between them. They go right into each other, which is the last glimpse of what could have been the 20-minute album closer epic.
Which, I mean, I'm all for them, but I get the decision not doing that because not everyone's into that, right? Not, especially nowadays, the people's attention spans are not made for 20-minute long epics. So I definitely understand that. But that next track that he was talking about, of course, is I Can't Imagine, which walk me through I Can't Imagine. Like, obviously, like you had just said, they're very intertwined, but walk me through specifically I Can't Imagine.
They were always supposed to mix, but they were recorded 2 years apart. So Another Day with You went into a 2019 version of I Can't Imagine back in the day, which I deleted because it sounded horrible. And I was always like, I can make it sound better. So I re-recorded it entirely in 2021, and I think it is my favorite track on the record. If I get this, that's my favorite. It is the most instrumentally complex and layered, and it's got so much inside of it. Like it's pretty long too. It's like 6 minutes or something like that, but it captures pretty much everything that I want going for in a song, I think. And it was incredibly challenging to do. It's another one like Far Away From Here, where the 2019 version, I've been working on it ever since then because I just didn't know how to get it right. So I've been working on trying to get the right version for 2 years. And when I finished it, I was so happy. I was like, can we make this the first song? I really wanted it to be the first song, but no. Everyone still said Bongos was better. But I think this is the best track. So that's
awesome. So do you like the tracks as a standalone, or would you say like mixed with Another Day with You and I Can't Imagine that they're your favorite track, or is it just I Can't Imagine it's your favorite track just because you said they do kind of go together?
You're right. Probably alone. Not that there's anything wrong with it being connected. Just Another Day with You is a simple rock song, and I Can't Imagine is so intricate.
Very complex. Yeah, I get that.
That's what I like. Like if it would have been attached with that song and the song that came after it, it would have been like different movements, which would have been cool. But that movement is my favorite, the I Can't Imagine part.
Yeah, definitely so. So again, I do very much respect the decision to not combine them all. I think that was the right call. As cool as it would be to hear, I mean, you can just slap them together and make basically the way that you kind of intended is kind of the way everyone just heard it anyway, because I don't take breaks. I like to fade them in that a little bit. So you guys kind of sort of heard it somewhat the way that he he imagined it a little bit, I guess. But
too is that I'm not against people reorganizing my stuff either, because I do that for a lot of artists, and I don't know if it's weird, if it's just me, but like I'll take an album, and if I think a song should have been first, I'll put it first in my iTunes library. I don't know what they were thinking, like I'll do it. But like that's just me, that because I'm weird. And one last thing about this song is the use of the Justin Timberlake beatbox at the end, Cry Me a River style, which
Yes.
I absolutely loved. I was like, I can't believe I've never done this before in a song, but I did it, and it was fun.
That was the last thing I was going to mention. So I'm glad you brought it up because that's really fun. You're very good. So of course, you kind of sort of already touched on it a little bit, but the very last track on the Pumpkin Club, On My Show. Walk me through On My Show.
On my show. On my show is going to be a little bit surprised but On My Show has been my favorite song since I was like maybe 12.
Oh,
Ethan,
nice.
how is it your favorite song since you were 12? It's a cover.
Mm-hmm.
So the original recording was done. Oh my gosh, I think I talked to you about them last time we were on.
Yeah, I don't think it was on air, but yeah, I think we had talked about it off air. Maybe I think
The original artist was Cars Flowers, the original band who was Maroon 5 before they were Maroon 5.
that's right. Yes.
And they made this grungy demo that only exists in like on YouTube or something. And it sounds horrible. And it's this beautiful song, On My Show. And I'm so in love with it. I got into contact with everyone who knows Cars Flowers. You know, I'm like in the fan club. I'm like, okay, where can I find access to this song? You know, is there a better version? There's never been a better version. So I was like, I'm gonna record this myself. Make a better version. Like the version that exists is barely listenable. Like it's really bad quality. And so I spent 2 years recording and perfecting On My Show, or my rendition of On My Show. And it is a little bit different from the original, mainly towards the end. All the guitar solos in the song are mine. So they did not exist in the original recording. And the original song, I think, is also maybe 5 or 4 minutes, and mine is 6, close to 7. I just really went at it. I rearranged some parts, but it's more or less the same song. And I just loved it. And I thought this song is so good. It just needs a better presentation, a better representation, especially from someone who's one of the most famous artists
Yeah.
of today, Adam Levine. You know, Adam Levine wrote that song.
You would think that like maybe one day you'd want to go back, and maybe he hates the song. Who knows? It's weird to think about, right? Maybe he just doesn't want that to exist, and he's like, he knows how bad it sounded. Maybe, you know, but it's funny that to think about that, right? You know.
I wanted to ask you though, does it sound like me? Like if I wrote this, would you?
Oh yeah, if you honestly, I didn't make that connection because I remember we did talk about it on air because I love Maroon 5 and Adam Levine, and we were talking about that, and you were like, oh, I like the band that like before Maroon 5, and I was like, what? Because I never heard of them. So yeah, I didn't make that connection. So if you told me it was an original, I think it's very much your vibe, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Now everyone who's listening is gonna go back to listen to it. Like, does this sound like Adam Levine? Does it sound like Maroon 5? But
which is a great compliment too. People are like, oh, like you sound like him. It's like, oh, that's a pretty good compliment.
yeah, it's a lot of again falsetto I had to use because his voice is so high. But that's another one of the distribution problems because it takes a while to gain a cover license. And I thought I had, you know, I tried doing it in January and they said you can't use that one. You have to get a new one when you upload it for the album. What are you talking about? I already got one. So I have to get another cover license, but it'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope by the time you guys are hearing this, everything's uploaded and should be all good. So hopefully that all works out. Fantastic, man. Well, folks, that was the Pumpkin Club in full and our little breakdown of each track here with Ethan. Ethan, it's been so fun getting to do this with you, man. I'm glad we were able to make this happen, because the second that you announced it, I messaged you right away when I saw it. I was like, we need to do something for this.
Thank you so much for having me again. You have been there since day one. I don't think anyone else has been. So I will always have the most respect for you.
Oh man, well I appreciate that, and it's cool for me. Like I said, when I said to my friend the other day, like, oh, I've been following his career for years. Literally, that's not even an understatement. Like, I was a fan of your work with King Catalyst before you guys were King Catalyst. So it's like all throughout your solo stuff, like. So it's cool, man, and I'm excited for the future and to see you just keep growing as a songwriter and as as an artist as well. It's really fun for me to get to watch this all unfold. So,
well, thank you so much.
Very fun, very good, man. So, real quick before we go, where can people find you if they want to check you out on the social media?
At this point, search up the Pumpkin Club anywhere and you'll find me. But also Ethan Flynn Music on Instagram. Ethan Flynn everywhere. Not Ethan P. Flynn. That is someone else. Don't listen to. Okay, you can listen to his music, whatever you want. But that's not me. That's someone else.
Screw Ethan P. Flynn. We're all about Ethan Flynn on this show.
I'm going to do my best so that if you search up the Pumpkin Club, regardless of where you are, you will find the album. And I think that's it. If you just search up my name, it's a pretty easy name to spell. I don't have like a super long name or something.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I'll make sure I have some links below too, folks. If you guys are watching this on the YouTube or you're listening to this on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, I'll make sure I have some links down below. Go check Ethan out. He very much, deserves your support. And Ethan, my man, thank you very much again for doing this, buddy. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for doing this.
My absolute pleasure, brother. I'll talk to you later.
See you soon.
All right, guys, there you have it. My chat with Ethan Flynn, doing a music showcase and track-by-track commentary of his brand new record, The Pumpkin Club, which he titled The Pumpkin Club because he fucking wanted to. Which I wasn't expecting that. I thought there was going to be this big, deep story. There isn't. Which is just fantastic. But Ethan, my man, thank you so very much for coming on. And thank you so much for coming on and enjoying today's episode. I know it was a long one, but I think there was a lot of great content in there for Ethan's fans. So I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did as well. Be sure to go check out the Pumpkin Club and go check out Ethan wherever you can find your music and on all of these social medias. While you're there, be sure to follow The Hodder Show. If you have not, we are under The Hodder Show, HODDER, The Hodder Show, on Facebook and Instagram. And you can also be sure to leave a rating and subscribe if you can. And so choose however you are watching or listening to this podcast. I very much appreciate it. Ratings and subscriptions help me big time. So thank you very much. You are awesome. If you have done that, you deserve, without a doubt, the patented video fist bump. Boom. And of course, for my audio listeners, the audio fist bump. Boom. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. And I'll catch you next time on The Hodder Show. Take it easy, guys.